Good morning.
It worked.
Good
Hi
morning.
there.
We had a little technical difficulty this morning, but Lori Brooks has just joined us as we're getting started. So welcome, Lori and Laura. You have joined us for another episode of the 10,000 Club. Today, we're going to be talking about, listen to me, I can't even remember, highlighting new agent wins. I couldn't remember our title.
You got it, Tracy.
Yeah, there we go. So, so today we're going to be talking about some of our wins, and wins mean a lot of different things. They can be wins in learning, wins in buyers, wins in sellers, just wins in education in general when you're an NTI or a new to industry. So a big welcome to Cindy Beckwith, who's joining us today.
Hi, guys. Hi, Laura and Lori. Thanks for joining us.
And to both you, Laura and Lori, for joining us today. One of the things when you decide to be a realtor is you have to choose a broker. And so we have this great brochure that talks about discover what's possible and discover what's possible at 5-Star Real Estate. And so we have this big claim that we're the best broker. We want to be the most supportive broker on the planet. And so today we're going to be talking about how our agents win, and how it is that we as a broker support team, deal doctors, how it is that we and all the staff at 5-Star, right, help support agents like you, our NTIs, become successful. So yeah, Cindy, go ahead. I'll let you take it.
Well, we're so glad you're here. So tell us the story. How did you get here? What made you join 5-Star? Laura?
Okay, I'll go first. Sure. So I actually interviewed a couple of brokers, and then I found out that I had a friend that had a connection to 5-Star, and I hadn't looked into it until then. And then when I went to the website, there was a lot of great information there. I was impressed by the website, like first impression. I was also impressed by the information regarding like broker support, education, like they put everything out there, and it was very straightforward, right? Like I didn't have to call and ask somebody, how does the commission setup work? What kind of services do you provide to new agents? Like it was all right there on the website, which I thought was really great. And so then when I realized that I had a personal connection, then I talked to somebody, and I just felt like it was a really good fit compared to the other brokers that I looked at. And I've been really, really happy with my decision.
Great.
That's great. What about you, Lori?
Yeah, so it was during the pandemic that, like many, I was home and decided that I would learn a new skill. I've always had a little bit of an interest in the market. So first I spoke with one of my daughter's friends, and my daughter had purchased a house through her, and she was in her wedding. Good friends, Ginger Herman. And she is an amazing mentor for me. Early on, she just was the biggest cheerleader for 5-Star, and just loves everything about the team, the people, the support. And I shadowed her, and I listened to her, and I did also interview on another smaller kind of boutique place. And I just knew that I wanted that support and continuous education. And so I signed on and haven't really looked back. I'm really, really happy every day with my decision to join 5-Star.
Awesome. And now look at you. Today you're here part of our education. You're now a participant. Well, that's good. That's good. So being the most supportive broker on the planet means that we need to be providing something. So Laura, when did you get here? When did you onboard at 5-Star?
I started in June of 2021. So I've been here for just over a year.
Okay. And what about you, Lori? When did you onboard?
Pretty close to that end of April. Okay. Same.
Okay. So you've both got more than a year under your belt in the craziest time ever. So what has support looked like for you at 5-Star? How did you get started? What did you start doing?
I started with the Tuesday training with Kim. And I want to say there was also some of the on-demand education videos that I looked at. And then I, within my first couple months, I had a transaction for a family member. And
Oh,
that was when I really realized like what support means, because I was on the phone with broker support all the time. Like I wanted a second opinion on the CMA I was coming up with. I needed help going through the purchase agreement. And at the time, since I'd already been participating in Kim's training class, she was the one that I had talked to a lot. And then but I'm pretty sure I talked to everyone on broker support during that time,
mhm.
and got a lot of help and support that way. And, I was still relatively new and wasn't really even like connecting with other realtors yet. So like now, a year later, I can bounce ideas off of Lori or someone else in the office. But then broker support was like my number one call.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
I too used all of the Tuesdays with Kim. That was like a staple. And it's great because they might have a topic that they're working on, but she always involved all of the new agents and what are you working on? What's new? And you definitely learned from others' experience as well. So I did that. I had my first transaction in the summer. And I sold a house for a friend's daughter, and that was my start. But then after that, I went on vacation. I was in and out of state a lot. Like I feel like early in that first year, I was very much part-time doing it. And then I realized that that's not how I wanted to do it. I spent a lot of time realizing the little pockets of information that I wanted to grow in. So I did things like worked on social media posts and creating some kind of identity with my business online. And I think those are early seeds that you plant, and then you don't realize who you're hitting, but they're seeds they're planting, and people are noticing because now I'm kind of harvesting some of that early work. But broker support has been a big part of having the confidence to move forward in just meeting up with somebody the first time and talking confidently. And I think that each success you build on that confidence. And each time I call Tracy in a panic, she calms me down and shows me and really teaches me I can build confidence in myself by being the professional and having the information and sharing that information. So it's so good to have that feeling that behind me, the new agent, there's a huge support team. So I always have the confidence that I might not have the answer in the moment, but I will get it to you.
That's good. That's good. What I like is that you both said the same thing, that in the beginning, what you did was you got involved. And that didn't mean that we made you do something, that you took the initiative and you showed up to these Tuesday classes. And I think maybe you as well, Cindy, but I think I had the privilege of meeting both of you for the first time in one of those classes. I think I taught one of Kim's classes.
Mhm.
And but what I could tell is that there was this synergy in this virtual group where you guys knew each other and you were like a sponge. I think we did kind of potpourri topic that day, but it was really great just to see that you guys had confidence. It was a safe place to ask questions. No one was afraid, and that you guys showed up. So that's interesting that you both attribute that your success is from education that you initiated.
And that you asked a lot of questions. Isn't it amazing? This brokerage, you have so many avenues to call and ask questions and get help. And like you said, I just love what Lori said about having that support team behind you, being a new agent. I came here in October, And it was amazing. You hear, oh, the most supportive broker on the planet, but it's not hype, it's true. And, but you guys have taken advantage of it, and kudos to you.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, Laura, you told us where your first deal came from, right? What about you, Lori? Where did your first deal come from? And when you onboarded in April, when did that first deal come?
Yeah, the first one was in that summer, a few months in, and that was my one of my friend's daughter's homes. And that, that was a great and a pretty easy sale. Didn't have to do a lot of background work, but I definitely worked with a professional here to make sure everything with my contract, because it's all, it's all new when you're doing it the first time. You need that person behind you saying, this is a legal document. Like you don't want to miss anything on it. But I feel like after my first deal, I kind of sputtered. I didn't really build off of it. So truly, like this year, my first deal was in May, and it was, I was listing a condo. I had a referral from a friend of mine who's an attorney, and it was a trust account.
yes.
You're smiling, Tracy, because I think
Those are
we
always
were
fun.
on direct dial for much of that time. But I take things like to heart and really personally. Like I own a lot of stuff, like maybe I shouldn't, but I get so involved in this. And I know I wanted to do a good job for my friend, and I wanted to continue that flow of referrals through her. And I also wanted to do a great job for the client. And the client was out of state, handling his mother's estate. And there's a long history behind there that this condo sat there for a couple of years with someone living in it. And it was kind of in disarray, and he was done with it. When I first talked to him, he was gruff, and he was like, I want to sell this. I want a cash sale. I'm selling it as is. This is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong with it, but just sell it. I want it out. And
he was adamant that he did not want it on the MLS. And
didn't want it on the MLS. Didn't want to pay a buyer agent. Just find me a buyer. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'll get back with you. And then I called Tracy. I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah, but the cool thing is what we did though is we talked about tools. And when you're a new agent, Cindy, right? Sometimes we don't have the language. We don't know how to navigate the conversations with the seller. So that's kind of what we talked through. What were the words? What were the tools? What were the ideas you needed to put in front of him to help him understand there was a better way of doing this, that in the end would not be any more stress on him, that you would be the pro and help guide him to a path that led him to multiple people who may want this place and would compete to get it. What happened, Lori?
So, it was in a desirable area. I had run comps, and I could see that within the same condo development, there was a sale pretty recent that was, a good amount higher. It was at 240. So much higher than the cash deal that I could drum up for him. And so I knew that there was potential there. And I think Tracy just really helped me present my information, like gather the information and present it in a way that would help him understand what he would be missing out on. What was the quote that I've heard? Something like you wouldn't hold an auction and invite one person to it, right? And that's kind of what happens when you're not listing on the MLS. So that along with my data, and then last minute, Kim is on the phone with me, helping me build or print out my net sheets from the 5-star app. And just emailed them to him, and we had our conference call and we went over them, and I was ready. I gave all my solid information, and I was ready for him to come back with blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, let's do it. And I'm like,
Good for
all
you.
right.
Yeah.
All right. And
Yeah,
then I knew it was my chance to take this property, because you build new business off your existing business, right?
Yep.
So I wanted to make it my showcase. I'm invested. He's out of state. It's a mess. So I hired a plumber to fix the broken toilets. I hired a cleaner to go through, and it was pretty bad. I did little things, changed up some things, and I invested in some things to stage it. I didn't have to do that, but I knew that I wanted some things in my wardrobe to be able to bring to future listings as far as staging items. So investing more in my business, not necessarily just about the sale. And it turned out I hired a professional photographer, which I will do every time.
Very important.
Yeah. And then I had, I took photos before and after. It got a lot of interest. We had 8 offers, and we ended up selling for 35 over asking. And now, mind you, that was still in the hot spot of our spike of that kind of business. But I think even today it would have multiple offers because of where it is and what it is.
Yeah. But again, now let's go back to you being the advice giver. How did you feel about your advice that you had given to your seller, that you helped him get to this place? And how did your relationship change with him from where you began to where you ended?
Yeah, I felt really good about it. I felt confident in it, and just through that, I think I built confidence in myself for future listings. I had someone call me on that listing that was somebody who had a home in Granville and wanted to sell and move into a condo. Last week, we not only closed on their house, but got them into their new condo. That happened in just snowballed. That was another great success that was built off of that first success. And I have to say, when I reflect back on this, it was that listing went live the last day of my Ninja installation that I did. I committed to doing that. I knew it was a lot of money, but I knew I needed to do that to build a business the way I wanted to.
Good. And you got to the Ninja before I could get there. So I'm going to hold you on the Ninja part. But no, it's good, because I like that, because that's something I think the two of you share. So what about you, Laura? Can you tell us where you got started? Tell us about some of your early deals and what you learned and what your path to the success looked like.
Sure. So I started by just kind of reaching out to my network and my sphere. And I will say that if I had taken Ninja like the month I started in real estate, I would have maybe reached out to people in a different way and maybe more effectively.
Yeah, but you did it. That's the important part.
Yeah. And so now I know, but I just started talking to people, telling them what I was up to. And that was really pretty comfortable for me. And I started with a family member that was selling a condo and then moving into a new condo, and learned a lot about the contracts and the protocol as far as what needs to be included when you submit it to the MLS and what needs to be included when you're submitting it to the listing agent. Went through negotiations on repairs, went through the appraisal process on the sales side, like the seller went under contract with a buyer that had a loan. So by the end of last summer, I had a cash transaction and I had a conventional loan transaction. And then my next transaction started probably in October, but didn't close until February. So I ended up reconnecting with an old friend. We found out that our kids go to the same school, and we went and got together, and she was like, oh, well, so first of all, she was telling me about what's going on in her life. And she brought up that she might be buying a house and then selling her house. And I just listened and asked questions. And then she's like, what are you up to? And I was like, funny you should ask. I'm a realtor. And yeah, and she was like, I would love to work with you. And so for the next few months, we were in contact. In December, they started looking seriously. And then in right before Christmas, I think, nope, it was the middle of January, they went under contract, and then we sold their house. And I feel like that was a really exciting win for me, because they were looking at this time of the year where typically the market slows a bit. And they had a really clear picture of what they wanted and what they wanted to spend. And to the point that you made earlier, Tracy, I was in the position to give advice and give information and data from the market, from professional experience, not just my own, but those around me. And that combination allowed them to offer on a house that had been sitting for a while. They were able to get it under list price. They were able to negotiate certain things on repairs, and that just ended up being a really great experience, because for the whole first year of being in this industry, it was like, oh, well, you can't offer under asking, right? Like, you'll never get something if you offer under asking. And they did, and they won. They had to go back and forth. There was probably like a full month of negotiation before they accepted the offer, but that was awesome. So that was one contact and one way that I got business. And then I also met with several mortgage lenders and other people in the industry when I first started. And one of those lenders reached out to me and was like, hey, I have a pre-approved buyer, they're FHA, this is what they're looking for, and I was wondering if you'd like to help them. And
wow. Okay, this is
yeah.
shocking.
Yeah.
Okay? that an NTI, okay, a new to industry agent, takes the initiative to reach out to some mortgage people. And one of them, now imagine all the agents. Cindy, do you work with any mortgage lenders?
I do. In fact, I actually got some of my first leads when I got in real estate from lenders.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic, Laura.
That's impressive. So that, to me, that is something that is not to be missed from this conversation today.
Yeah.
Like, I work with the lenders as well and get leads.
Yeah.
And when I got my first lead from them, they didn't even know I was new. I remember getting it going, they have no idea. This is only my second deal or whatever, but they just liked me. And so this is interesting that you said, hey, everybody, I don't know anything, but I'm here to learn from you. So will you trust me with your clients?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And I was just like so floored when, that happened, because you don't always know how that stuff is going to work out. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and that was another really big win, because those clients were looking kind of outside of the Grand Rapids area. They were an FHA buyer, worked really closely with the lender to understand their situation and like what we could offer, where was the margin, what did they have available to bring to the table to negotiate. Well, in understanding that, which was great, we came up to inspection time for the FHA because they chose to waive inspections. And it turned out that they needed a new roof, and there was not going to be money for them to add to that. But we had put in the contract that they would cover up to $500 of repairs. I remember I was actually on spring break with my kids, and I was on the phone with Tracy, and I was like, I'm so worried. Like, I don't know what to do. What if the seller is like, we're just going to walk away? And what if, they're going to have to put up the money for the roof? Like, what do we do? I know they don't have it. Like, this is, they need the roof in order to get the loan, and they're not going to be able to do all of that out of pocket. And Tracy explained it to me. Because, oh, the other interesting thing was that I was working on the other side of this transaction was also a very new agent. And so Tracy explained it to me. She's like, there's a wall between you and the closing table, and there's a wall between the seller and the closing table. And this roof has to be taken care of. Otherwise, that wall does not get removed. And the seller can either, take care of this issue. And there's a number of ways that they could do it. But either way, there's a wall. And if you could explain it to this other agent that way and understand that, or help them to understand that neither one of you is going to close unless the situation is resolved. Hopefully they will want to keep the deal together and they will work with you. And my clients and I talked and we had all these options lined up. And I was like, the first thing we're going to do, if you're willing to try it, or, you're willing to take that risk, is we're going to ask for them to pay for the roof. And if they come back and they want to negotiate, then we can go from there. And we reached out, we were like, here's the situation. This is what the inspection says. Like, this is what we're requesting. And they were like, sure, we'll do that. And I was like, oh, this got my buyers a new roof. And so that was super exciting. And they
were a young couple. It wasn't this little cute little ranch.
Yes.
Yeah. And those are big wins. What both of you have described are really big wins where you feel like you've really helped your client get to a different place. Lori, you as a seller, Laura, you as a buyer, but you helped them realize places that you walked alongside of them. You helped them get there, right?
Yeah. You went above and beyond.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of my education came at the beginning of the year. I probably spent a good 3 to 4 months working with new clients, first-time buyers, and just getting beaten in the market badly. But I always reached out to find out more information about the offers that we lost on, like what was it like? And then people have been great with sharing information. I've had really good interactions with both within 5-star and outside of 5-star, some really good people who have said, yeah, I know it's tough, and let them know we had 25 offers and I'll share the spreadsheet I used with you. And I'm like, wow. So I gathered a lot of information that was really helpful for me, for my clients, and for future clients. When I went in to speak with the clients that I earned through just a phone call on that first condo listing, I came in really knowledgeable about the current market, about what you're up against, about what was winning, and all the terminology around it. So by the end of the presentation, both the husband and wife, they were like, wow, you really know your business, and we want to work with you. Like, they both said, we want to work with you. And in my head, I'm going, I don't know my business, but I do. I mean, right? I'm like, I'm new. Wow. I guess I do, but I do know, so it's like getting over those I'm new to the industry hurdles and building confidence in yourself. But my enthusiasm, both from Ninja, just coming off the heels of that, I think that really lit a fire in me and made me just really excited about just the industry and how I can interact with people, and not in a salesy way. I'm here for your support. I'm here to help you.
Well, so. and here at 5-star, you've got, all these levels of support. Okay. And it also includes title, right? We have an in-house title company, Star Title. So when you don't understand things, we've done live streams, we've brought them in. In fact, we did last week, I think, was with Star Title. But these are other tools that are here and available for you when you're here at 5-star. The other thing we did this year was Ninja. And I did Ninja many years ago, and the two of you did it. And this, I think we might need to do a 2.0 because we're already at 10:30. Time just flew by. So but both of you have done Ninja. And so it'll be fun to watch you and see how you grow these next 12 months as you begin to implement your Ninja principles. For those of you that have taken Ninja or are thinking about Ninja, we usually have it every year. Marissa Harrington is in the process of putting together some Ninja groups. So you're going to be seeing more on that. And think of it like your Tuesdays with Kim. It's going to be your ninja group, and it's going to happen wherever you are. I think there could be in-person groups, there could be virtual groups, but yeah. So thank you so much, both of you, for saying
Yeah.
yes to this today. Cindy and I, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, we do. It was
Thank
great.
you for having us.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
welcome. And
thanks so
for
much.
yeah, and thanks for being willing to share your wins. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I hope that others can learn and have just know how to get involved and how to get involved in education so that you can win. So again, thanks for sharing today.
Thanks, you
for having us.
guys.
Yep. Have
was
a great day.
great.
We'll see you on Zoom
Bye-bye.
somewhere.
Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye.